Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're charting your complete progression from an absolute beginner just stepping foot into New Haven all the way to a durable, highly self-sufficient Grandmaster Warrior in the Immortal Realm. If you want a straightforward, super effective way to conquer content on your own terms without having to constantly rely on a group, well, you're in exactly the right place. Think of our agenda today as your personal quest log. We're going to cover the solo PvE warrior build, your core skills and stats, the step-by-step training roadmap, gear and gold strategy, and finally, mastering the realm. So let's jump right into Section 1, the solo PvE warrior, an accessible start. We're focusing on a straightforward, incredibly durable melee template here. And honestly, the best part? 30 to 50 hours. That's it. That is the total time it takes to get this build fully up and running to conquer mid-tier content. In the landscape of MMOs, where some builds literally require a second full-time job to pull off, this actually respects your time. It's accessible, it's easy to pick up, and it's absolutely perfect for a fresh character. Now, you might be wondering, what dungeons can you actually solo with this setup? Well, at full power, this template gives you the sheer durability to comfortably clear most low and mid-tier dungeons entirely alone. But that independence also makes you incredibly versatile. You pair perfectly with civic orders and convoy missions. Just keep in mind, for the absolute highest tier content or champion spawns, yeah, you're still going to want to make some friends for those. Moving on to Section 2, Core Skills and Stats, the Foundation of Power. Here's the deal. Every single character in the Immortal Realm is bound by a strict 700-point skill cap. We really don't have the luxury of being a jack of all trades here. Every single point we invest has to be deliberate, purposeful, and synergized seamlessly, just to keep you alive. Let's break that down. For your core combat, you'll max Swordsmanship and Tactics at 100 for your primary weapon and damage scaling. But the really crucial takeaway here is understanding the why behind your secondary skills. Anatomy, for instance, it isn't just for extra damage. It actually creates a vital synergy that seriously boosts your healing power when you're using bandages. Pair that with a healing skill at 100, and you've got incredible sheer survivability. We then round out those defenses with 80 to 100 points in both resist spells for magic mitigation and parrying for reliable shield blocking. So you might be asking yourself, does a warrior even need magic? It's entirely optional, sure, but I highly recommend it for the utility alone. You basically have two main choices to fill out those remaining points. Investing 60 to 80 points in Magery gives you massive quality of life upgrades. Think casting Recall, using heal scrolls, and dropping basic field spells. Alternatively, taking Chivalry instead gives your warrior this really cool classic paladin flavor and playstyle. Either path works great. Of course, underpinning all those skills are your stats, which really act as the true engine of this build. We're maxing out strength at 100. Honestly, this is non-negotiable. It dictates your raw damage and your hit points, literally keeping you alive. Then dexterity sits at 65 just to keep your weapons swinging fast and your stamina up. And finally, an intelligence of 60 guarantees you actually have the mana pool necessary to cast those Magery or Chivalry utility skills we just talked about. All right, Section 3, the training roadmap, your skill progression. This timeline is great because it removes all the guesswork from leveling up. In your very first hour, you aren't grinding at all. You're just buying your first 30 skill points straight from NPCs in New Haven. Simple, right? Hours 2 to 10 are for practicing on starter mobs, pushing those combat skills up to 60. Then, by the 10 to 30 hour mark, you're hitting that 80 to 100 skill range, and the game really starts to open up as mid-tier content unlocks. Between 30 and 50 hours, you'll lock in your utility specialization, and eventually, you'll hit peak Grandmaster power across your entire template right around hour 80 to 120. Next up is Section 4, Gear and Gold Strategy, funding your build. As you can probably guess, the progression of your armory is drastically different from day 1 to day 100. Your early game gear is wonderfully humble. A cheap heater shield, a standard longsword, basic studded leather, and a massive stack of at least 50 bandages. Seriously, never leave home without those bandages. But as you master the realm, you'll eventually graduate to these incredibly powerful, time-woven augmented weapons and beautifully crafted exceptional armor. You might even push into the elusive Shadow-Forged tier. But to fund that transition to endgame gear, you need reliable income. Step 1. Do the New Haven Welcome Quest immediately for a quick, easy 500 gold. Step 2. Grind out those starter quests to build up a nice nest egg of around 3,000 gold. Step 3. Keep an eye on the broadcasts so you can escort convoys. And Step 4. This is the most critical rule of all. Bank check any gold you have over 1,000. Please, do not run around this dangerous world with your life savings sitting in your backpack. Protect your wealth. And that brings us to Section 5, Mastering the Realm, going beyond the basics. Look, we have to acknowledge the realities of MMO gaming here. No build is completely invincible. Early on, your magic resistance is going to be pretty low, so you absolutely must train resist spells aggressively to 60+. You also lack a natural ranged option, meaning keeping a backup bow with just 30 archery on hand can literally save your life. But your absolute biggest threat? Multiple magic casters. If you don't close the gap quickly and stay right in their face, you are going to get painfully kited to death. Aggression really is your best defense here. And I think this quote perfectly sums up the late game. Felucca dungeons are PvP exposed, bring nothing you can't lose. The source material states it plainly because it is the harsh truth of late-game exploration, especially when you're out there chasing that shadow-forged gear. Felucca is a ruthless environment. Strict risk management isn't just a gentle suggestion here, it's the absolute rule of survival. Now, assuming you can navigate those risks, your solo capability actually makes you incredibly valuable to the realm's broader social systems. You can seamlessly align with civic orders, like, say, relying on a surgeon for last rites. You're also a perfect fit for bounty hunting via hunter wits. And your sheer durability makes you the absolute ideal primary escort for convoys. Plus, you can easily knock out combat tasks for the daily ledger to make sure you're getting a reliable, steady payday. You know what I love most about this build, though? It isn't a dead end. Once you master this baseline, the template is highly flexible for respecs later on. You might decide to add archery for a true ranged focus, or maybe tweak your skills to carve a path into PvP. You could even drop healing and resist entirely to pick up taming and lore, transitioning into a really cool hybrid pet master. The baseline warrior we've built today is literally just your launch pad. So there you have it. You now have the complete, step-by-step roadmap to survive, train, and thrive entirely on your own terms. You know the skills, you know the stats, and you have the economic strategy to fund your journey. So the only question left for you to answer is this. Once your solo warrior reaches Grandmaster, what legendary path will you carve into the history of the Immortal Realm?